On the program today, President Tinubu's cabinet reshuffle takes center stage.
We'll look at cybercrime and its effect on national security.
And later on in sports, we dissect the switch from the Ministry of Sport Development to National Sports Commission.
This is live from Abuja.
A show that takes you through the event that has shaped the week in Nigeria and across the world, from politics, news, entertainment and sports. Hello and welcome. I am Ademola Lawrence.
I am Jane Francis Nwenze.
We start with the story with the cabinet reshuffle. We'll begin following the reshuffling of the Federal Executive Council by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The federal government has directed all outgoing ministers to complete the handing over and taking over processes on or before 30th of October.
The reshuffle led to the discharge of 5 ministers, nomination of 7 new persons for ministerial appointments, reassignment of 10 ministers, and the restructuring of some ministries.
Secretary to the government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, outlined the transition process, stating that outgoing ministers without incoming counterparts are expected to hand over the permanent secretaries.
The memo further said the SGS office, in collaboration with the head of civil service of the Federation, is coordinating the merger of the Ministry of Tourism with the Ministry of Arts, Culture and Creative Economy, and the winding down of the defunct Ministry of Sports Development. It is said the renaming and expansion of the mandate of the defunct Ministry of Niger Delta Development takes immediate effect, adding that the relevant supervising authorities and commissions under the new ministry have been notified. And joining us as a public affairs analyst, Jide Ojo, joins us via Zoom from Dawaki here in Abuja. Good morning, Mr. Jide.
Good morning. It's my pleasure. Happy weekend.
All right. Happy weekend to you too as well. Okay, let's go straight to the point of discussion. There was a hint some weeks ago that this would happen. The cabinet reshuffled. Of course, did you think that it will be so quick, given the fact that the president had just returned from his leave a few days, and this has got so many Nigerians talking? Is this really what Nigerians want at this particular point in time?
Well, it is what Nigeria wants, but it is not far-reaching enough. Many Nigerians are looking forward to the reshufflement of the cabinet, and Nigerians have exercised a lot of resilience and patience with Mr. President in the last 16, 17 months of his being in power. But when you look at all development indices, it's pointing south. And Nigerians are wondering whether this is how we will continue to live in pains and sorrow. Look at the issue of rising cost of living. The 6 ministers, I would say 6 ministers were sacked, not 5. Even though you also acknowledge that Betta Edu had earlier been suspended and didn't come back. The 6 ministers that were relieved of their position are actually not really the ones that many Nigerians were looking forward to be relieved. People are saying, why is the Minister of Power still holding that position? Why is the Minister of Defense still holding that position? Why is the Minister of Finance still holding that position? Why are there no dramatic change in the key ministries that have direct impact on the lives of citizens? What impact does Minister of Women Affairs? What impact does it have? Minister of you start Minister of State for Environment or for Health. Those are not the key ones that is impacting largely on the lives of every citizen. So what I would say is that it's within the prerogative of Mr. President to do what he has done, and nobody can fault him on that ground. But Nigerians were actually looking forward to about half to 2/3 of his cabinet being replaced. You will see that no former governor on that cabinet was relieved of his position. None of the former governors. And you ask yourself, have we overcome insecurity? The 2 former governors that are in charge of defense Can we say they have done well, they have made Nigerians secure as to warrant the retainment of their portfolios? Yes, Minister of Sports, John Eno, and I wonder whether that will not create tension. It's like a demotion for John Eno. You scrapped the ministry which is heading, and you made him a Minister of State in Trade and Investment. That is like a demotion, because whether you like it or not, there is the substantive minister and the Minister of State are not of equal status. That's why you hardly know that there are two ministers in FCT, because Nyesom Wike is dominating that ministry. And also you look at Doris Aniete Uzoka, who was moved from Minister of Trade and Investment to go and be a Minister of State in Finance. That is also like a demotion. Then you ask yourself, what warranted the promotion of Olawande as Minister of Youth, from Minister of State for Youth to becoming the substantive Minister of Youth, and then the sack of Jamila Ibrahim Dio. The point is that I am of the opinion that it's not just the tracking of Hadiza Bala Usman that she did with social media tracking or the rating of the ministers that influenced the president's choice. I think it's just more of party patronage. And you ask yourself again, why should Ogun State have 4 ministers? Ogun State alone is having 4 ministers, and many states in the Southeast have only 1. There is no state in the Southeast that even have more than 1 minister. Then you also look at the appointment of the widow of late Chukwemeka Odumegwu. That may raise another controversy, because Uju Kennedy Ohaneye is representing Anambra on that cabinet. Now, Bianca Odumegwu is from Imo State. So, is she representing Imo or she's representing Anambra? And don't forget that the Constitution have said that in Section 147 sub 3 that the president will appoint at least a minister from every state. But that is neither here nor there. On the whole, I must also say that there are a couple of things that the president got right with this appointment or with this reshufflement. First, I am glad that this is coming ahead of the presentation of the budget 2025. Assuming that this comes up later than now, and you know that the president is already late in submitting the 2025 appropriation bill to the National Assembly. If we go by the provision of Fiscal Responsibility Act, he ought to have submitted this appropriation bill since September. Now, this is end of October. He has not submitted, but maybe he's waiting for this reshufflement to take place. Because if it didn't happen now, and the bill had been submitted to the National Assembly, it will create a confusion. For instance, maybe there's already a draft that is awaiting the president's signature for it to be presented to the National Assembly. There will have been provision for Ministry of Sports. There will have been provision for Ministry of Tourism, which had been scrapped. There will have been provision for Ministry of Niger Delta, which has also been scrapped and renamed, renamed Ministry of Regional Development. Then I like the fact that the president did this ahead of the submission of the budget. 2, I also like the fact that the 7 new nominees have their portfolios attached to their names. So it will help the National Assembly to properly drill, to properly ensure that they screen the candidates vis-a-vis whether they have professional competency and capacity to deliver in the ministry that the president has proposed for them. Right, this has been an advocacy point for a very long time, and I'm glad that President Tinubu is doing that right now.
All right, thank you very much, Jide. Well, you don't seem to sound surprised at the changes, the sacks, but rather you also, hinted a bit of unimpression. You're not impressed, rather, with some of the people that were left behind. So can we say that you're still expecting the president to still make some changes in his cabinet? Do you think he's beating his time and strategizing? Because you cited the fact that former governors were not removed, and then the state balance in selection or representation of ministers also. Should we expect more changes, or you think he's done with the reshuffling?
Well, the only thing that is permanent in life is change. And I know that even when you go back to August 2023, when this present crop of ministers were nominated, there were some that were dropped before their screening. There were some that were dropped during the screening. At least 2 or 3 were dropped during the screening exercise. You recall that Malam Nasir El-Rufai from Kaduna State was dropped, was not confirmed, and there was another person, maybe from one of the northeast states, who was also not confirmed. So the president had to replace them. So there is not, the only thing that is permanent in life is change. I wouldn't be surprised if the president still find 1 or 2 changes. But what I'm saying, and this is just being very, I'm being patriotic here, is that Nigeria looks forward to greater performance and delivery from the cabinet, the president's cabinet. Now, the other point I have issues with, which I just recollected now, is that we are not going to be seeing significant reduction, if at all there will be any, in the rising cost of governance. The cost of governance will become more astronomical. Now we have 50 ministers. 50 ministers. If you had Mr. President to the list, because now a new appointment has been made in the Ministry of Livestock Development. So you in one breath, we say we want to reduce cost of governance. That was why the president gave a marching order that there should be implementation of the Oronsaye Committee's report of 2012. And up till now, nobody knew where that Oronsaye report implementation committee position is. Recently, the chief of staff to the president said it's still work in progress. But Nigerians are quite impatient with the fact that we seem to be, increasing substantially the cost of governance, when we should actually be looking at improving the standard of living of citizens. Because as it were now, you are going to need more resources, even though the president, I'm not unmindful of the fact that there is a statement that says the convoy of the presidents, the convoy of the governors have been reduced to 3 vehicles, and then the number of security details reduced to 5, 4 policemen and 1 DSS personnel, and maybe along that line. But this is not going to be substantial, because when you create a new ministry, definitely you have to ensure that that ministry is well resourced. Then the other thing that needs to be flagged is, if the president found it convenient to scrap Ministry of Sport and empower the National Sport Commission to take over the responsibility of Ministry of Sport, why did he keep the Ministry of Police Affairs? Don't forget that there is a constitutional body called Police Service Commission, which is even listed as one of the 16 federal executive bodies in the Constitution. That commission should have been empowered, make sure that the president should have ensured that it's well resourced to deliver on his mandate, which is inclusive of recruitment, discipline, promotion, and everything that has to do with police. And with the exception of the Inspector General of Police, the Police Service Commission has a mandate and authority to do so many things within the police, in terms of police operational efficiency. But what we have seen now is that we still have the Ministry of Police Affairs, we have Police Service Commission, we have the Police Council, we have the Police Equipment Trust Fund. This is an overbloated bureaucracy which will impact negatively on the resources that should have been used for operational efficiency.
Okay,
and that's that.
Okay, yeah. Mr. Jide, so I get your point, when you made that comparison between the police and, of course, the Ministry of Sport. But this is what some persons are also saying. If you say that, the ministers that the president had actually sacked, they don't have any direct impact on the Nigerian citizens, don't forget, the Ministry of Finance will make, they are to, of course, the policies are to triple down. One of the agencies that policy will triple down is the Ministry of Women Affairs, because, you know, they have to give out handouts. Let me put it that way. You know, so if you are saying that these ministries, these ministers that were sacked, they don't have a direct impact, then which one now has a direct impact, because they are all supposed to serve the Nigerian citizens?
Thank you. What I'm saying, and if you understood me very well, what I'm saying is not that they don't have impact at all. Of course, the Ministry of Women Affairs, it's not just to give handouts, as you call it. It's also to ensure the, gender mainstreaming in terms of policy, in terms of ensuring we have better deal for Nigerian women. So it's not just about, empowerment. It's Mrs. Uju Kennedy Ohaneye that made it to be Ministry of Handouts, because she believes that it's more, Ministry of Women Affairs is more about empowerment of Nigerian women, rather than in terms of policy and implementation of programs, ensuring that we have better and higher women representation and participation in decision-making process of the country. So that is just by the side. But look at Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. That ministry ran for almost 10 months without a minister. It is now that the president has deemed it fit to put 2 ministers in that ministry after the sack of Betta Edu. Because when Betta Edu was there was only 1 minister, and that's her. When she was suspended, the president did not even replace her until this announcement a few days back that there will now be 2 ministers, the doctor from Plateau State, Yitawada or something, and then one other person. But I'm saying, look at Ministry of Power. That has direct impact on the citizen. Now, under this minister, we have found how many national grid collapse? How many megawatts of electricity has Adebayo Adelabu been able to put on the one that he made? Why are we having epileptic power supply and increase in the tariff of electricity? So that has bigger impact, if you ask me, has bigger impact on the citizen than Ministry of Women Affairs or even Ministry of Environment, State for Environment. The other one, Ministry of Finance, that is a policy-making ministry. And you ask yourself, what is Mr. Wale Edu doing? And in that ministry, why has there been no impact, sufficient positive impact on the citizens with his macroeconomic policies? Look at inflation. The inflation is rising under his leadership. Cost of living has become astronomical under his leadership because of the policies of this government, particularly in terms of interest rates. I would not put that entirely on his table. Maybe that is also partly responsible by the Central Bank of Nigeria. But the Central Bank is under him. It's more like a parastatal under Ministry of Finance. And even the Nigerian Customs Service is under Ministry of Finance. So invariably, we still have to hold him responsible for those macroeconomic policies of this government, which has impacted negatively. Look at the devaluation of Nigerian currency, the depreciation of the naira, the weakness of the purchasing power parity of our currency. So much so that I think recently Nigeria's currency has been deemed to be one of the top 3 worst performing currency in Africa. So under somebody's leadership, you have this kind of indicators, you have this kind of facts, and you see kept in. So is it until when all Nigerians are already being impoverished, okay, and there is no middle class any longer, okay, that we are going to deem it fit to have a change in that leadership?
Okay, Mr. Jide, thank you very much. I know this is a discussion that we're going to exhaust. We can't exhaust it, but the fact is that remember the government has said we're already taking that curve. Remember the government said we are taking that curve where
I do hope so. I want to give them benefit of doubt.
Yeah.
We are in this together, but I hope they can do better. Double down on this poverty and unemployment as well as corruption, so that we can have a better deal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jiri. Thank you for your
Thanks for the
insight.
opportunity.
Thank you. We'll go on a break. When we come back, we'll now talk on Cyber Summit. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.